So, what is Excel? We've mentioned it many times, but we've yet to see it in this class. Excel is a spreadsheet program, and all a spreadsheet is a system for you to enter data, whether it be numbers or text or what have you. You could use it to quickly create charts and graphs and other such business data type setups for your just for convenient reading and access, et cetera, et cetera. And Excel is by far the most well-known of these. As you saw on Monday's lecture, you've also got Google Sheets is a popular one. And OpenOffice Calc is a popular free option for desktops. And when we load into Microsoft Excel, we see that there are a lot of similarities to Word. Your home ribbon looks pretty much the same up to this point here, where you start getting some more different elements to work with. The main things that you need to know as a difference are, one, we have this top bar up here. This is where you can select your cell. If you want to, say, go to cell C5, all you do is type C5. I'll explain cells in a little bit more detail. They're pretty self-explanatory, but I'll go over them anyway in just a moment. But you can do that, or you can just click, or you could use your arrow keys. Let's go back to A1. This is just some quick buttons for inserting formulas and functions. And here is a spot for you to enter the value of your cell. So say I wanted to enter my name into cell A1. I could either click here to highlight this cell or any other and start typing. And after doing this, you can press the right arrow to move to the next column or the enter key to go to the next row. That is, right arrow to move right, enter to go down, or you could use your arrow keys to go down. We're going to hit the right arrow key and go over to B1. And instead of typing into the cell itself, I'm going to put my cursor on the formula bar. I'm going to type my last name. As you can see, it puts this here. This is just a neat little way. You have everything visible here for all cells, and then you've got focus on one cell up here. I generally don't do that. I just focus on the cells, but if you prefer, you can do it that way instead. And you notice that the text is left aligned, but what if we enter a number? Let's enter my age, 28, and press enter. Because all I entered was a number, this gets aligned to the right. Very simple, just a little way to help you distinguish numerical data from textual data. If you enter a combination of letters and numbers, let me enter my email address. It's treated as text. If there's anything other than letters in a cell, it is treated as text. And as for exactly what these cells are and what all this junk means, you have your rows and your columns. And this is like tables in Microsoft Word, where you can enter data into these evenly spaced blocks. But Excel has a lot more functionality with its cells. For one, you can take a group of them and you can compile some derivative data from whatever you've put into them. And let me explain that, or demonstrate that rather, right now. So say we have a set of numbers. This week, your project is going to be about building a budget chart and table. So you're going to be working with a large collection of numbers. And let's just put in some random numbers into our columns here. We'll do 5 columns of 3 numbers each. So let's say this is 100, 200, 300. We come back to column B, say 50, 500, 5,000, 25, 50, 75, just throwing in some roundish numbers. Well, with 200, 400, 800, and our last one we'll do 1,000, 2,000, and 3,000. And now we have our numerical data, and this is where Excel's functions come into play, because what we can do, say we want to sum row number 1. That's 100 plus 50 plus 25 plus 200 plus 1,000. We could, if we wanted to, do it by hand, and we would get 1,200 plus 75 plus 100, 1,375. Or we can highlight this cell and say this equals sum of A1 to E1. And I'll quickly go over the syntax of this. If you are entering a formula of any kind, you want to start it with an equals sign. And as you type, you'll see a list of functions that you can choose from, including sum, difference, average. You can multiply, divide, obviously. You have just a whole load of them, and we'll go over some throughout the course of these lectures. And inside your parentheses, you have a range that you are specifying. So on the left side of the colon is the beginning of the range, and on the right side is the end of the range. You could mentally think of it as the colon representing the word through. So what we're saying here is cell F1 equals the sum of A1 through E1. And when we do that, we find out if our math was correct, and yes, it was 1,375. But say we want to do this a little quicker. We have another option. If we come up here, past our styles, past all this, we have Autosum. If you place your cursor on a cell at the end of a row and press Autosum, it will automatically fill it with this, and then you can just press enter. And that's nice and all, but it can get tedious if you're doing the same thing for a lot of rows. Let's go back up to this cell, and you can see that there is a little square in the corner of the selection outline. This is called your fill handle. And what you can do with this is you can grab this, and you can copy your formula over. And what that'll do is it'll do the same set of columns, but since we're dragging it down, it will adjust for the rows. So this is taking the sum of row 2, and this is taking the sum of row 3. We can then do the same thing by summing up our columns. Autosum, press enter, and column A has a total of 600. Grab this, and if I could, it's very precise, drag across these, and now instead of taking the sum and function and copying it for the rows, we're copying it for the columns. So instead of changing the numbers 1, 2, and 3, we're changing the letters of A, B to B to C to D, E, F, and so on and so forth. And this is a really good way to take all of your totals, because you may have a system, you may have a chart where you are given all these numbers and you have to sum them across rows and columns, and having to enter that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times can get tedious and time consuming. But with the fill handle, you can make that very simple, very quick, and have it done in a couple of seconds. Let me see what else where we are from there. Yeah, so that just about covers the first chunk of what they want us to cover for just generally entering data. I'll also quickly talk about merging cells. So you can enter text, and Excel will not stop you from going way over the edge of a particular line. So let's just type in a complete sentence into A6 here. Let's say as you can see, it's got this showing it's gone all the way over into F or E6. We could select broken chunks of it like this, but we don't want that. That's not ideal. Instead, we can select this whole thing. The way I tend to do it, this is my preferred, is I click the start spot, move my mouse over to where I want my selection to end, hold shift and click again. But the way that it's probably going to expect you to do it is to click and drag. So keep that in mind. And we can click merge and center over here. And now this is one cell. You can't pick disjointed pieces of this sentence here. You can only select the whole thing. And this is how you would go about making a title. So let me see what all it wants us to cover in formatting. So changing a cell style, very similar to Word. Let's grab all of these. We'll call these our inputs. We come over to cell styles. We have all of these here, and we want to select this input. You can choose whatever style you want naturally, but this is just, it's a quick example. You can, we call this input, so there's your input, and like Word, we may get into this later. I don't know, I haven't looked at lectures 2 or 3 yet, but in later ones we may cover changing styles. I'm not sure. But we can do that. We can do it for a single cell if we so choose. But as with Word, the idea is the same. Next slide. What does it want us to do here? Font. Exactly the same as with Word. So let's pick a font. I'm just going to go with, I'm going to use one of my custom fonts, just because I can. I'm going to go with Linux Biolinum. We have changed our font. It is mostly the same as these others. But you have the same idea. You could bold your text. You can italicize, underline, change your font size. You can select your font color. All the stuff that came over from Word to here, it all is accessed exactly the same. And instead of bulleted lists and numbered lists, up here you have vertical alignment. So just like before, you have your left, center, and right alignment. You also have top, middle, and bottom alignment. And as always, please slow me down or just outright stop me if I'm going too fast or if you have a question. I can't see if you're raising your hand as usual. Increasing font size, change color, Yeah, we've already covered that. This here talks about a theme colors area, and I don't see a theme colors area. So I think in our version of Excel, we are just choosing the font color option. However, let me look around to see what there is for the background color. Oh, well, right here. If you want to change the color of the background from something other to something other than white, let's go with this is faded gold for this here. It would make more sense if that was down here. Same idea. So if it asks you to change the background or fill color, you go here. If it wants you to change the font or text color, it's right here. Moving on. Format row using cell styles. I've already shown you that. To format numbers, you don't just have simple numbers. You notice that there was a $ symbol up on the ribbon. Let's go ahead and select all of this. I'm going to do it the way that MindTap is going to want you to do it. So click and drag to select everything. And we want this to be displayed as currency. You click this drop-down menu and you're given several options. We are going to go with US dollars, and it will format it accordingly. Your $ is going to be placed left aligned while your numbers remain right aligned. And because we have to account for cents as well, we get 2 digits of precision to the right of the decimal point. Adjusting column width, the last thing in our formatting. Sometimes you may want a column to be more pronounced to show its information more completely. Because as you enter data into a table, let's just show what I mean. I'm going to enter my email address into one of these cells and my full name into the other. Whoops. ASU.edu, and it spills over into column B. No problem. I can make that worse by entering my name. Now we have an issue. Because I've entered text into column B over here, now the email address column is cut off. So how do we go about fixing this? Simply come up here, and we drag this line here. You get this little sort of plus sign type of icon when you place your cursor on the line between 2 columns in this menu here. And so you drag it to the right, and you have given yourself more room. And so that covers the formatting. Next thing it wants us to do is add a pie chart. So to do a pie chart, all we do, we select our cells that we want to use. And now we come to the Insert tab, and we want to find the button to insert a pie or donut chart, and that is right here, this little button here under Charts. Click that, and let's just insert a simple 2-dimensional pie chart. Do that, and it'll plop it down right here for us. We click in this space, and we can backspace all this away, and let's call this cost breakdown. And now if you press enter, it'll go to a new line. So the way to confirm your choice with your title here is just simply to deselect it. In addition to that, we also have access to styles. This works just as you remember it from Word, where we select our chart and we get a chart design tab. And here we have our chart styles. We also have color options and other things to work with, but we're not going to focus on those today. Let's click this. And now we have this nice dark background and our chart more vibrantly pops out of the rest of our spreadsheet. But we don't necessarily want that to just be sat lazily in the middle. That's not really very nice looking. What we instead want to do is to move our chart to a new sheet. And so what we do here, while we're still on the chart design page, on the far right of all of our options on the ribbon, we have Move Chart. If we click that, this menu here will appear, and we have the option to specify it as an object in a particular sheet, or we can create a new sheet, and we'll leave it as Chart 1 and press OK. Now it is much bigger because it's on its own page, and we can see down here we have our tabs. If you want to switch over to a different sheet, we can come back to our main one by simply clicking the name of it. And as you can see, our chart has left this spreadsheet. It has been cut and pasted over here. If you want to change the name of it, double click it, and we're going to name it after our chart. Cost breakdown. We also have the option of changing its color if we want it to stand out better. Down here in this really kind of out of the way part of Excel, we can select tab color, and let's say we want it to be a nice blue. Hello? There we go. I don't know why it wasn't working for a second there. I think it was because of the tooltip text was still fading out. But now you can see you have a more standout tab to switch over to. To view and change your document properties, this is one time where we're actually going to need something else besides Save As or New in the Backstage area of an Office program. So what we want to do is to view properties, we want to come to Info. And look over here on the right, we have some properties. Size is shown here. It's not saved yet, so we don't have a definite size. We could input a title by clicking in the text field. Same for tags, same for categories. Some related data, can't really do anything with that. You also have advanced properties that you can select by coming down here. Click this, and you're given, I suppose you'll be given more options when, oh, here it is. And you have just a whole slew of these to look for. I rarely, if ever, use this, but if it calls for it in your project, just know that if you need something other than title, tags, and category for your document properties, you'll find them here. Among these many tabs, you have your general, summary, statistics, contents, and custom. And when you're done, you just press OK. And we are done with the Backstage area for now, so we just exit out. Printing a worksheet, we're not going to go over this. We won't be printing anything. Viewing automatic calculations. You haven't noticed it yet because I haven't moved my mouse over to it, and I didn't know about it until today. But you have the option to display automatic calculations on your status bar. So what we first want to do is go back to Sheets, or Sheet 1 rather, and let's just select all of these. And if we come down to the bottom right, we have our sum, our max, count, average. When you right click down here on this very bottom element, this is the status bar. You open up the customize status bar menu and you can view all of these. This is not selected by default. Excuse me, one second. Maximum is not selected by default. While I was going over this and practicing to make sure I had all my thoughts together, I enabled that, but you can disable it by clicking it again, or let's add minimum to the set and click away from it to get rid of it. Oh, taskbar, please go away. And so now we have our minimum here, $25. Now, as far as these other options, let's also go over a few other formulas that we have access to. So we come over here and we see that this is just Autosum. We could select other options. You have average, count numbers, max, min, and you can select these just like you would for Autosum. Let's enter some of the other available ones. Let's average the first row. We type enter average, open parenth, and that would be A1 through F1. Close your parentheses. Remember to close your parentheses. That's a common mistake that even I make sometimes, and it's something that I have to do on a daily basis as a programmer. You type all your information, you forget to close your parentheses, and it yells at you for an error. So just remember that. And so we average those and we get $458.33. Let's find the min of B1 through, no. Apologies, of A2 through F2. Our min is 50. To find the max, we do this. Same concept. A3 through F3, close, press enter. Our max is 9175. Naturally, it's our total. Just to look through some other options that we have. If we type M, we see we have match, max, max A, max IFS. We can find the median. If you remember from your math classes, median is the middle number when arranged from least to greatest or greatest to least. Does this have mode? Mod, I think that's modulus, which you don't need to know exactly what modulus is unless you're a math or computer science major. And yet mode, the most commonly appearing number. So lots of built-in features. And so moving on, we're going to look at the ways in which we can correct our errors. I believe this is the last thing we need to cover for today. So beginning with correcting errors after entering data into a cell. If the entry is short, then you can select the cell and just retype it completely. Otherwise, you can edit inside the cell. So let's say we wanted to change this here. This is short, or this is short enough that we could retype it if we wanted to. But I don't want to. And I want to call attention to something really quick. So you see in the slide that this shows an edit button here. Not entirely sure how to make that appear because, as you see, mine, taskbar will disappear, it just has ready. So instead, what you can do to edit is you can hover over the cell you want to change and double click, and it'll put your cursor there. So let's say we want to change jumps to jumped, just backspace ED, enter. Merging errors part 2, undoing the last cell entry. We have our undo button. This is the same as it is with Word. You just click this button, or you can press Control Z. I imagine MindTap is going to want you to use the undo button. And there are a bunch of different ways that you can clear cells. You can use the fill handle. It's the same as with copying your formulas across rows and columns. So let's just say, for example, that I wanted to delete this information on this bottom row. I select an empty cell, grab the fill handle, drag it over these two cells here, and the information in them disappears. Consequently, we can also return our A cells to a more reasonable size. Other options we have, we can clear them using the shortcut menu, using the delete key, which is just selecting cells and pressing delete, which is if you're on a desktop keyboard, not a laptop keyboard, it is directly above your left arrow key, or at least it should be. There are enough variations that I can't be entirely sure. But just find the delete key on your computer. It should be on the right-hand side, or at least the right half of the keyboard, and just press that. You have a clear button, and you can clear the formatting of a cell using the styles. So let's say, for example, we want to get rid of this. We could just press the delete key. That is an option. We can use the delete button here, or we can come here, and this will not clear, just so you know, this here will not clear a single cell. This is for clearing the whole thing. You can get rid of everything. You can remove your formulas, contents, comments and notes, and hyperlinks. So this is not what you want to use for clearing a single cell. Instead, we will let's use the delete button. You could do a drop down, delete cells, delete sheet rows. Let's delete cells. This should delete. It brings this little drop down menu. Shift cells left, shift cells up, entire row, entire column. Let's get rid of the entire row. And there that goes. Finally, let's go back to the clear option. Well, first, let's clear our formatting, rather. If we want to clear our formatting, all you have to do is come up to your styles, bring down the gallery, and type or select normal. And all of our styling has been gotten rid of. Whoops, did not mean to click that. Go away. But let's quickly undo that because we want to keep our formatting. And lastly, if you want to get rid of the whole thing, let's come here yet again, clear all, and your spreadsheet has been wiped away, with the exception of these. Okay. I misunderstood. I apologize. Clear all clears everything out of your selection. So yes, using the clear button will just remove that cell. But let's undo. If you can't tell, I haven't used Excel in a while. Actually, I think the last time I used Microsoft Excel was when I took this class. So I am learning alongside you guys how to do all this because this is a new version for me, and it's a new version of a program I haven't used in years. So let's come back to the PowerPoint. Clearing the entire worksheet. You can just select all through this button here. And again, you use clear all. I'm not going to do it again because you saw how it works. Just know that this little right triangle button here is the select all button. All right. To obtain help using the search text box, we come up here to help, and we click the help button here on the help tab, and it'll bring up all of this. You can enter a search term for whatever it is that you are trying to find, and it'll bring up your results below. I'm not going to demonstrate that. It's very similar to Word. Same thing for the tell me box, which is the next slide, I believe. Yes, tell me box. You can see that when you're on the home tab, it is over to the right. Let me just bring that up really quickly as a refresher for both you and me. And I do not see it. That's wonderful. I imagine it's just this up here, this little search box here. Yes, I think. If I am wrong, then we will figure that out probably Friday, you along with Mr. Foster. But to save a workbook to a different file name, you already know how to do that. Just bring down your Backstage menu, save as, browse, and enter your file name. And then to sign out of Microsoft account, we're not going to bother with that today, but there's no need to worry about it. And with that, that pretty much covers everything we need to discuss for this meeting.